Are you a songwriter? Are you looking to turn your songwriting passion into a full-time gig? Whether you are just at the start of your songwriting journey or a seasoned industry professional, this show is made for you. Welcome to The Songwriter Show, bringing together songwriting news, interviews, and community. Now, welcome your host, Sarantos.
Thank you for tuning in, and welcome back to The Songwriter Show. I'm your host, Sarantos. I'm a solo music artist who's been writing lyrics for as long as I can remember. Words are so important to me, and that's why I'm thrilled to host this show. I believe that every song is a story.
And now, welcome this week's special guest.
Welcome to The Songwriter Show, Jeremy.
Hey, thanks for having me on, man. It's a pleasure to be here.
You're very welcome, and we're so happy to have you on here today. Born in San Antonio, Texas, Jeremy Parsons grew up soaking in the sounds of Texas music in the dance halls of the Lone Star State. Jeremy was always a fan of the music, but it wasn't until his later high school years that he discovered his knack for it. Driven by his passion, he taught himself to play the guitar and began to write and perform music, and the rest is history. So Jeremy, that's quite a fascinating story you have there.
Yeah, thanks. I wish I could say I made it up.
Hey, you know what? We each have a story, my brother, and that's a cool one. So you're from Texas, huh?
I am born and raised down there, Southwest Texas, also known as Northern Mexico, I guess you could call it too. Yeah.
So is it true that everything's bigger in Texas? I keep hearing that saying.
Oh man, I'd like to say it's true, but I think it's just a very loud, insecure man just started yelling those words. I don't know. I don't believe it's. It is a very big state, though. Very big, very beautiful. A lot of different terrains and cultures too. It's one of those places. You know, there's a lot of people that they come up to me and they're like, "Man, I don't like a lot of the people's attitude down in Texas, but the state is beautiful." I was like, "Yeah, man, it's not the state's fault. You can't blame the state."
That's true. Yeah, it's a beautiful state. I've been there a couple of times, and I did see everybody wearing cowboy boots and carrying their guns. So I don't know. You know, Texas gets a bad rap sometimes, I think.
Yeah, I think we're all just given that at birth. You know, you come out, they wrap you up, and they give you your gun and your cowboy hat and your boots, and you grow into them eventually.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about your family. Any musical people in your family?
Absolutely none, to the point where when we would go to church when I was a kid, I was embarrassed to stand next to them because everyone was so off the entire time. It's funny though. Yeah, they're real supportive of my dad specifically of me doing music. They always loved listening to it, but never really could make it come out of themselves very well.
Yeah, it's always fascinating to talk to people. I don't have a number, but maybe a third of people that are try and do this full-time for a living have no musical background in their families. But I think innately we all just have this musical part of our nature, and it's very cool to see you pursuing it.
Yeah, you're definitely right. There's a rhythm to life, so to speak, and we all kind of want to jump. Some of us want to jump on board and make a new one, you know. So it's fun. It's really cool.
Yeah. What instrument do you play specifically?
My main instrument is guitar, electric and acoustic. I mainly play acoustic, though I'm not secure enough in my electric playing to take it out of the house yet.
Okay. What kind of sets the mood for you? Like when you want to just sit down and write a song, is it morning, night? Is it when you're alone? Is it when you're out and something inspires you? What sets the mood most commonly for you? Usually
alone. Out of all those choices, I think the time of day is kind of irrelevant to me because it's when like if I have a day off, then the song kind of is out there floating and it finds me in a sense. Like I might go for a walk around my neighborhood and an idea will pop into my head. I'll run back to the house and sit down with my guitar, see if I can pull it out of me. But it just mainly when I'm alone, like when I can just overthink things or just think about different stuff.
Yeah, that's great. Do you ever, when you're out walking around, do you ever like whip out your iPhone or something and just jot some notes, some lyrics, some chords?
Oh, absolutely. Technology is a lifesaver because I can't imagine just being somewhere and not having a notebook or something and you lose the idea. Yeah, that's the beauty of that. You can be walking down the street and record a voice memo and be like, I think I want to do this here. Remember, this should be a minor chord and I should hit that note too,
Yeah, what an advantage. I remember gosh, maybe like 5 years ago, I decided to digitize all my songs, and I had papers and napkins and things everywhere. And in the beginning, it was kind of weird, like writing lyrics down on an iPhone, but you're right, you get used to it. And what a lifesaver. I remember, I think it was John Mellencamp, one of his famous songs, he was showering and he just wrote it like in the fog or whatever and, tried to keep it. But now we have this huge advantage with technology.
Yeah, and it's like if you got a waterproof case, man, you can just take that thing in there with you. Like it's
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, if you sing in the shower.
Yeah.
What do you practice? Do you practice tunes out in the world? Do you practice, you have your own exercises? What do you like to practice?
Usually I just sing if I hear like a new song, like an exercise would be to see if I could do or make it my own, take it and make it my own. Or I really like to sit down and I'll hook up my Bluetooth speaker to my phone and put on Spotify or my iTunes library, and I'll just try to play guitar over it, like find the lead parts and stuff.
Yeah, that's great. That's wonderful. That definitely to me has always been a sign of someone who is very skilled, because I know when I first started, I played mostly piano and I couldn't pick stuff out for the life of me. And the better you get at it, I know there's session players that they just literally listen to something and they don't need chord charts, they don't need anything, they could just play it. So the fact you could do that is very impressive.
I realize it's a gift too, and I'm very grateful because it's therapeutic to me. Like if I want to always be doing something musical because it just makes me happy. But sometimes you don't want to sit down and try to force yourself to write a song, but it's just fun to jam out sometimes.
Yeah. Do you do that? So one of the things I keep reading about, and people keep saying you got to force yourself to write every day, and I get that. But to me, I like to take breaks every so often because like you said, then it's forced.
The album that I have out right now, it's called Things I Need to Say. And those weren't forced. Those were things that came out of me because they needed to, and it was musical therapy for me. I don't have that writing style where I can just force it. It's like you do that, you give yourself musical hemorrhoids or something like that.
Yeah.
It's not worth it.
Yeah, no, and some of the people that work for publishers that are songwriters that they have to churn out like X amount of songs every day. To me, it's just, and when you're a songwriter like us, you have plenty of material. To me, the hardest part is always trying to figure out, okay, what am I going to put on this CD? I have so many things to choose from. So I don't think forcing it is going to necessarily help you.
No, it's all just got to make sense, and that takes patience and it takes time. I mean, this industry requires a ton of patience. Like whether it's people or just how long it takes to make a product or anything,
Yeah, for sure. I hear you. So how do you figure out if a song is going to make the cut to your CD? What's your process?
I sit down and I pick it apart. If I really like a song, the main way to tell is going around in my friend group or asking like producer or his family, as many people as I can. I'm like, what do you think of this song stacked up next to this song? It's kind of like it's like an eye exam. It's like one or two or one, and I level that out and then I pick my favorites. Sometimes I'll make calls that are more in my direction because sometimes you just know. Like I always go with my gut.
Sure. I like to ask everybody, tell me about a scam you've been involved in or something you've heard of, because I always want to prevent other musicians and songwriters from falling victim to some of these scams. So if you could just pick one off the top of your head that comes to mind.
Man, I would say the biggest scams to watch out for specifically, I'm in Nashville right now, and it's one of the things here that just absolutely disgusts me is I'll see these younger artists like 14, 15, 16-year-olds who watch The Voice and think they can just be famous overnight. They'll go to these so-called artist development companies. And you got to watch out for those. Usually it's just some greasy guy around the industry who couldn't actually make it big with a different artist, and he's just trying to take money from these wealthy families and this poor girl who has these dreams and aspirations, and it just ends up ruining it for you. Like when you have an experience like that, you no longer. I mean, if you're actually doing it for the right reasons, you can weather through it. But I see people just go home after it completely defeated. So it's artist development is nothing but sometimes it's you just paying a bunch of people to tell you the same thing over and over again that you could have found out by yourself.
Yeah, that's a great point. I didn't think about that too much, but you're right. That's, I'm sure, a very huge industry. And I feel bad when you have mommy or daddy footing the bill. And I think I've heard about this in the modeling industry. But you're right to bring it to the forefront in music because I don't think about it too much, but I'm sure it's a huge problem.
Yeah, and it's big. I'm sure it's just as much, if not more, of a problem in LA too. I'm not out there that often, but like in Nashville, you just see it left and right. It's like, oh, I'm working with this guy who says he used to work with so and so. I was like, the best advice is don't work with people who told you what they've done. Work with people who tell you what they do. Like,
that's great. Yeah,
there's a difference. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Join our free behind-the-scenes music community at www.songwritershow.com. Network with other artists, songwriters, and producers, and get feedback on your original music. That's www.songwritershow.com.
What's the strangest compliment you've ever gotten for your lyrics?
The strangest compliment? That's a good question. I think someone compared me to Bob Dylan the other day, which is the biggest compliment, but also the strangest because it's probably the strangest because it's the biggest. You know, he's one of those guys he's untouchable, you know, in most opinions as far as being a songwriter goes. But when it was given to me, I thought like my voice was a little raw. So I thought I was just singing the notes really weird. So when they first said it, I was like, do I sound like Bob Dylan right now?
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, you took it as an insult, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, well, because I mean, like, his voice is so unique, but you know, when he would go off on that like type thing, I was like, man, I'm sorry.
You know, just in listening to you talk right now, I'm like, I can hear a little Bob Dylan in there. So now that you brought it up, yeah, that's interesting. All right, so next question.
It is a compliment.
Yeah. So next question, what's your superpower?
My superpower? It would definitely be this is lame. I have always have a huge craving for potato chips. So if I could just conjure potato chips wherever I was, that would be my superpower. And I feel like anybody who had the munchies or, you know, anyone at specific times would really like having me around.
That's awesome, yeah.
Yeah.
What's your favorite potato
really
chip?
Help the world, I guess.
What's your favorite potato chip?
Man, I've been really into just the baked Lay's mixture right now. I really Miss Vicky's kettle cooked in general, stuff like that is just the best. I think it's the crunch that I really it's super satisfying.
What inspires you?
Man, that's it. I think just living in general for the broadest answer in the world right there. But it's just people hanging. I love being around people, and I love hearing stories, and I love experiencing life with different people. And I think it's just really life, like just being aware of everything that's going on around me. I'm trying to stay away from the news because I don't like going crazy. I feel like it's not going to work for me. But yeah, just people inspire me on a daily basis.
What's a song you love because of your parents?
A song I love because of my parents. It would have to be actually. So one that comes to mind it's funny to me, and I don't know why. It was Kenny Rogers used to be with the band before he was Kenny Rogers. I can't remember the name. I just stopped in to see what condition my condition was in.
Okay.
Do you remember that? Do you remember that song?
Yeah.
And I think I can't remember if the name of the band was the first edition or the new edition.
Yeah, okay.
But it's along those lines. And I don't remember why that stands out to me so much. My mom always used to play it on vinyl. And I can hear like the monotones of that, like when the song comes in with this cool bend. And I don't know. And it's just every time it comes on, it's very nostalgic for me.
All right, last question before we hear your song. What's the worst concert you've ever been to?
Oh, worst concert I've ever been to was Hank Williams Jr. And it was because he was I don't know what was going on with him at that time in his life. I assumed it was stuff that we hear about in the news. It was just too loud, and he was extremely messed up on stage, and it was a bummer because we went to have like a really good time, and it was me and my dad. So
that is a bummer.
Yeah.
All right, so now we're going to hear an excerpt of one of your songs. What's the title to this song, Jeremy?
The title of this song is Burn This House Down.
I can't seem to get rid of you, the two-story reminder of a love that didn't work out. I'm gonna have to burn memories till there's nothing but ash. I'm starting fresh, yeah, I'm starting from I couldn't go on.
That's a really cool song, Jeremy. Tell me something about that song I'm never going to forget.
Well, that song is it's really important. Like, the record is called Things I Need to Say. That's one of the things I needed to say. It's a metaphor I came up with because I went back home to San Antonio after my parents had gotten divorced after 48 years of marriage, and walked into my house for the first time since that had occurred and realized that everything was just different. This place that I had come to know and love had just completely changed, not so much aesthetically, but just the feeling and vibe was completely different. And it was about me dealing with that. It was a metaphor for like just burning. It would be easier to get over it if I could just burn it down and start anew from the ashes.
It's a great premise, man. Great song.
Thank you.
Tell me a little bit, Jeremy, where can listeners find more information about you and where can they purchase your music?
The best place to go for all of the above is JeremyParsonsMusic.com. It's got a merch store on there where you can buy t-shirts, koozies, and CDs. And if you shoot me a message when you order it, I'll personalize a CD to you as well. And it's also got links to all of my social media on there, so you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and all those good places.
Thank you so much, Jeremy, for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me, man. This was a blast. I appreciate it very much.
Awesome. To listeners who may be artists, if you wish to be on the Songwriter Show, I invite you to submit the interview request form at songwritershow.com or email me at info@melogia.com. Thank you for listening. I hope your own unique story gets heard around the world. My name is Sarantos. Please join us next time to hear other amazing artists share their fascinating behind-the-scenes stories right here at Songwriter Show.
Thank you for listening to The Songwriter Show. To keep the momentum going, head over to www.songwritershow.com and join our free music community of artists, songwriters, and producers. That's www.songwritershow.com.